Hey there everyone, it's the Gare Bear here like always on the One Brain 4 Wheels channel, and today I've got a 2017 Nissan Rogue behind me, and I'm in the beautifully sunny Los Angeles National Forest down here in SoCal, and as you can see I'm completely lying to you because it's not sunny at all. So I'm going to go ahead and do a quick review on this car while I've got it as a rental before it starts raining. And really the main point of this video is going to be why someone like me who owns more interesting cars. I've got the 2016 Corvette, I've got the 77 Eldorado, and even the Suburban's more interesting because, you know, you can kind of modify it to be like an off-roader, and it's a little bit different. It's not like a totally boring basic vehicle like someone might think this car is, which it kind of does look like that. But really the point that I want to make within this video is why someone like me who has more interesting cars like that, a little bit more special, actually is surprisingly really liking driving this car. Let's go ahead and talk about it. So before it starts actually raining, let's just go ahead and do a quick little walk around the outside of the car. I have to say, I was actually joking with my family when I told them I'd be getting a rental car when I came down here. You know, don't laugh at me if I get a Nissan. And sure enough, guess what I got? A Nissan. But this is better than, you know, like a little Versa or some subcompact little thing, or even, I don't really care for the Altima too much. But this car is actually styled pretty well. I actually like, it's got some nice angles on like that back window back there, and the tail lights on these ones look pretty sharp. Some of the earlier, before this generation was refreshed, I didn't really care for the tail lights. These ones look a little nicer because they have the little LED kind of strip around the edges. It just looks a little bit more modern, a little fresh. But yeah, overall, you know, this is a pretty good car for the category, I think. I guess this would be like a crossover type SUV. This is, I think it's front wheel drive actually, so not really my typical cup of tea. And when I got the car picked up, you know, I was really just like, oh God, I don't want to have to drive this thing around for a month. But I was pleasantly surprised within the last week. I've got 3 more weeks with this car. But within the last week, it's been able to show me that, you know what? I came into this thinking that like a crossover is something I would never drive, and with all the options around, sorry I had to clean the lens, but with all the options around, you know, I wouldn't really want something like this, and that's totally right. If I've got a Corvette and a real SUV and stuff like that, this is probably something I'm never actually gonna buy, but it did surprise me that I haven't been embarrassed driving this thing, and it hasn't been a total drag. I've actually been able to have a little fun, and it's done what it's needed to do for me. But yeah, so let's go ahead and talk about more on the inside of the car, I think. All right, coming from the inside of the 2017 Nissan Rogue, one of the first things that surprised me in a very pleasant way was really just how nice everything looks. The layout is very nice and clean, and the materials look pretty good. Yeah, there are a lot of plastics in this car, and I'll get to that a little bit more later. But coming from my viewpoint, I grew up, my grandma had a 2001 Camry, and my mom had a 2004 4Runner, and then when I was in college I actually had a 99 4Runner. We're used to a lot of these really cheap plastics. You know, they build cars really well, but they use kind of cheap materials. And they do have some of that in here, but if you'll notice, just from looking at it initially, everything looks nice, right? For example, the plastics on this door here are actually painted in a black metallic, so when the sun's shining, you can't really see it right now because it's kind of gloomy outside, but it actually has a nice sparkle to it, and that is really nice. All the buttons and everything feel firm, you know, everything, nothing is wiggly and loose, like, you know, maybe some American cars or something like that. I might know that from experience, my 2004 Suburban, or 2003 Suburban, excuse me. You know, the buttons are kind of cheap. But this is definitely, now that's not a fair comparison, because this is like, what, like 15 years later? So that math is wrong also, but anyhow, you guys get the point. It's not a fair comparison, but it is showing that this car is in nice quality. And for example, the gauge cluster in here, that looks straight out of an Infiniti. You know, it's not a digital cluster or anything like that, but the gauges are very nice, they're very clean. And I mean, look, this car's got the keyless, it has keyless entry, it's got a little push button on the outside, it's got the keyless start. Really, it's just a nice, it's a really nice setup in here. Up here, these are all soft touch materials on the top of the dash. This actually right here, that looks like it's sewn. That's actually hard plastic. But don't mind, this is dirty from whoever got this car last time. But that actually, that's not even real stitching. That is plastic. So that's what I'm saying, is that they did put in some nice materials, and then when they did cheap out and put plastic, they at least tried to make it look nice. And I definitely give them kudos for that, because to be honest, I'm going to be very honest here. I'm not a huge Nissan fan. I do like, I didn't actually like the 350Z. I do like the styling of the 370Z. It looks a little bit cleaner to me. The 350Z I didn't like the front end on that one as much. But anyhow, I've just never really been a fan of Nissan, to be honest with you guys. They make weird cars. I don't like the Juke and the Cube thing. They just make weird stuff. I know Toyota did the XB as well, and that was not really nice. I'm being very nice by saying it's not nice. Those are really ugly, actually. But the point is that they actually kept it as a separate brand, at least. They weren't, to me, they weren't tarnishing the Toyota brand, where Nissan just does weird shit. But this is a very nice car, and like I said earlier, I would drive this. It's not really that exciting. It's a 4-cylinder, but it will get you from point A to point B, and it is, dare I say, it's stylish. It's nice. Not performance-wise, no good. But it's good for just getting you from point A to point B, and doing so in a nice environment that you can be pleasant to look at. Because like I said, the gauge cluster, everything that the driver is going to be around, which is the most important thing, unless you're being chauffeured by someone, it doesn't really matter as much the rest of the car. What matters most is what the driver has to touch and feel and look at all the time, because the driver, this seat is going to be the one that's occupied all the time, and everything looks really nice. Going on with some more features, so this is an SV model, which I have no idea how the nomenclature of Nissan's trim levels or whatever, so I don't know if that's really a good, I feel like it's kind of like a base model. But irregardless, this SV model has heated seats in the front row, which is pretty cool. It also has a little aux port and a little place to put in your USB charger so you can connect your phone, and it has Bluetooth and stuff too. I used that earlier. It all works pretty good. Let me actually go ahead and put it in reverse for you guys. And look at that, we got a little backup camera. Now I will say it is quite small, because here's my, this is an iPhone 7 Plus, and as you can see, it is much bigger than that screen. So, you know, this is kind of an entry-level vehicle, so that's okay, it's acceptable. But yeah, taking a look at some more of the features this car has, it's got dual-zone automatic climate control, which is pretty nice. If you've got, you know, passengers and you want to have your own temperature, and then the rest of the passengers can kind of have their own temperature, that's really nice feature, especially for road trips. Having the tri-zone in my Suburban is actually really nice. We tend to like that a lot more than like the dual zone that we have in our the Grand Cherokee. But still, in an entry-level vehicle like this, that's pretty nice. Definitely, that's something that you're going to see on more and more cars. You already see it on a lot of entry-level cars nowadays, I think. And you're just going to keep seeing that, but it's nice that they're keeping up with the pace. Kind of moving along here, let's go ahead and talk about this little screen here real quick. So I have it on chassis control, which is pretty cool. I'll kind of show you a little clip maybe now about going on some windy roads, and this is kind of cool. It kind of shows you what the car, you know, how it's like leaning, kind of stuff like that. Or not, I shouldn't say leaning, but just how the car is moving as you're going around different curves and stuff. I guess it's similar to like the G-force thing I have on my Corvette, except this doesn't actually show any numerical values, but just kind of relatively where the car is moving. But yeah, so here's the chassis control that I was talking about, and here's kind of a curve up here. So I'm gonna go ahead and take it, and we're gonna go like that, and see, like that. See how it kind of shows? I'm gonna do it again. I'm gonna go ahead and go around a curve here, and there we go. You guys can kind of see the screen light up there. So it's kind of hard to do. I'm trying to hold it with one hand and also drive the car and not crash. And it's kind of scrolling through here. You know, you've got all your little settings and stuff, because you can't do too much with this little infotainment system. It's kind of limited. So you do a lot of your controls through this screen, which is very similar to my Corvette as well. And you know, just really, there's nothing of too much interest in here. This is kind of like a basic car. I will get to the safety shield thing though. So if you kind of notice, there's little lights there and there. And pretty much what this car will do is it's got the blind spot monitoring, which I actually don't have a car that has that. But it's pretty cool that that comes with this car. I think that might be a standard feature. I know I've been seeing a lot of Nissan commercials lately talking about safety shield. I will look into this and kind of put it below. But if it is standard, then that is also very nice, especially because this is an entry-level car. Another cool feature this car has is remote start. So I'm going to go ahead and press the lock button, then press and hold the little remote start, little circle-y with an arrow button. That's pretty cool. That is definitely something that's really getting more standard on cars these days, so it's not really that special. But the fact that it's coming in on a car that's this cheap, kind of an entry-level vehicle, that is a nice thing to have. Along with the little button down here that allows you to unlock your car without having to pull out a key. Like I said, this is a good bang for your buck vehicle. I'm kind of falling in love with this car. But I'm not buying this car. I'm not gonna buy a car like this. But I'm just trying to think of like people like, I kind of have to reevaluate myself, because I would always have said, like, don't buy a Nissan. I hate Nissans. They're styled so ugly. I've driven, like, way back in the day, I didn't own it, but I've driven an old, I think it was an Altima or Maxima, one of those, and it was just a total piece of crap. I definitely have been, like, a Toyota fanboy for life. Always going to be a Toyota fanboy. But this is definitely, like, kind of like rocking my world a little bit, because this is really put together nice, and I'm really impressed with Nissan. This is a very nice looking car, and I guess that's my takeaway from this, is that I'm impressed. Moving along to the back, it has pretty good leg room. I'm going to demonstrate. Just walk around. Okay, so I am a little over 6'3", and I am sitting behind a 6'3" adjusted front seat, and as you can see, I'm pretty good there. So I would give this a win. So this does seat, let me put it back here, this does seat 3 in the back, but if you want to have a cup holder, you just go ahead and pull this guy. Sorry, this needed 2 hands. But you go ahead and pull that little tab there, and bam, you've got yourself a cup holder. But yeah, the headroom is super good in here. As you guys, can you guys see this in here? Look at that. That is really nice. Honestly, this car looks very small on the outside to me, but it's really, there's no third row or anything, but it's got pretty good cargo room back there. And yeah, this is very comfortable. I mean, I can move my legs around. You know, I can kind of, there we go, spread out a little bit, kind of recline. Oh, can you recline these seats? Oh, I think you can. Let's see. Oh, maybe not. Oh, yeah, actually you do recline. Yeah, these recline. Because, let me see if I can adjust it back. Sorry, I'm discovering things. Oh, yeah. Oh, sweet, you can adjust the angle back here using the little fold down tab up there. So, yeah, even more features. It's cool. You got a little vent back there. The sound system is okay in this car. It's not very good, but it'll do if you're not really into music or anything, or you just like listen to radio all the time, then you're gonna be fine. The cargo area, let me get around back here, sorry. That's pretty good size, and it has these little things back there. You can go ahead and lift these up, like so, and you know, they're kind of, these look a little cheap to me, to be honest. These little, like, little shelving units back here, but I think that's kind of like the same with all cars nowadays that are doing these shelves back here, and at least they put carpet on them, so you know, it's fine. And there's some storage underneath. I'll get back to there actually right now. So yeah, here's those shelf things I was talking about. So definitely you can fit a couple suitcases back here easy, and then you go ahead and pull up on here, and I'm guessing your spare tire is under here somewhere. Yeah, there it is. But you've got a little hidden shelf underneath here. You could put some stuff down here, maybe a purse or whatever you want to hide. Here's another shelf back here with some straps. And you have a little AC outlet back there. No power plug in this car. There's no 3-pronger back here. But, you know, you could put some skis back here easy. Definitely, it doesn't have the little cargo cover thing up here, but it's fine. It's a rental car. But yeah. Nice and roomy. Now, getting back to quality, one thing I did notice that I didn't care for too much was just how thin this metal cladding is on the outside of the car. And I'll demonstrate when I open the door. Watch how it warbles when I shut it. Ready? I don't know if you guys could see that or not, but it warbled a lot and I don't like it. One more time. You can just see this whole panel of the car kind of just like warble in a little bit. And it's really, that part feels a little cheap. You know, when a lot of people will say these kind of Japanese cars, they're kind of like tin boxes, and on the inside, it doesn't feel that way. But just kind of, once I saw that warble, it really caught my eye. I think the light was hitting it just right, so I saw it. But then it kind of made me think like, wow, the outside of this car is kind of a little thin. The metal's a bit thin for me. But you know, overall it's still a really nice car, but that's just something is like, it doesn't feel like a super tanky to me, which I'm used to. So really, it's probably just like a personal problem that I kind of have to get used to the fact that, you know, they probably did that to make the car lighter, and it's probably cheaper too. And I'm sure there's plenty of safety stuff within the vehicle, within the door panels, etc., where you really don't need the thick metal like that. But for me, having a car where when you shut the door, the metal doesn't kind of warble, that just kind of elevates a car to another level of quality, where this is just kind of lacking a little bit on that. But with everything else I've said, that doesn't really matter to me. I still feel perfectly safe driving this car, and the quality is definitely there. You know, this is a small little thing. So if you opt for the all-wheel drive version of this vehicle, I imagine you might want to go ahead and take it into some snow, maybe some light off-roading, but I don't think anyone that's buying this car would ever really take it off-roading. But for the snow, I think it'd be perfectly fine. The ground clearance is a little low because this is a crossover, so it's pretty much a car with an SUV body on it. But you know, the wheelbase is not that long. It's not like you're going to get hung up on anything too bad, even though the clearance is kind of, you know, it's not that great, but you know, it's not bad. And the back kind of kicks up a little bit, so if you were going up a hill, you're not going to scrape up too much. But overall, I think that would be fine. But like I said, don't do any big off-roading in this car. You're just going to get stuck. See, even the Nissan Rogue can go off-road a little bit. It's not too crazy, but you know, this is not pavement. I think that's, I've said this in other videos too, and I already said it in this video, but don't let the car that you have or you're given limit what kind of fun you guys can have. There's the car going by. But yeah, you know, even if you can't afford a sporty luxury car or whatever, like the Corvette, doesn't mean you can't have fun with it. And just because you can't afford to do, you know, big mods on like a Suburban or a big truck or something, doesn't mean you can't go off-road. You know, this thing is pretty much a car with an SUV body, like I said. And yet, you know, you can go out to the middle of nowhere and just go ahead and have some fun. But do be careful, because you don't want to get stuck, because a tow truck will cost a lot if you're off pavement. And the costs can go up pretty quick. But yeah, so you know, I'm just kind of taking a little cruise out here in, I think it's like Retchie Canyon or something. It's like out in the, way out far in the Inland Empire. I was just kind of cruising around, just trying to explore a little bit. I thought it would be worth go ahead and filming this a little bit, just kind of showing that you shouldn't let the car that you've got kind of keep you in fear of where you can go and whatnot. Okay, so let's go ahead and recap my thoughts on the 2017 Nissan Rogue. The first most important question I should ask myself is, would I buy this? And my answer to that is no, because I really like having my Suburban, and this would be like the car that would replace something like that. And really, I just like having the bigger engine, because this 4-cylinder, it definitely, you can keep up with traffic and you can get onto the highway just fine. You don't even have to put it in the little sport mode that it's got. But just having that extra beefy engine, I really enjoy that. And that's something that's important to me. Even though my Suburban isn't a performance vehicle or anything, I definitely like having that extra bit of power that this car just doesn't have. And also, it's a little bit more fun having a rear-wheel drive vehicle, even if it's a Suburban and a big SUV. So, you know, this car, even though it'd be perfectly fine for me, you know, it just doesn't have enough of that little zing for me. And I think people would probably say the same thing about a Suburban. So I think that's really just like a personal thing. So if I took my bias out of it, let's just say, would I buy this for like a family member? Would I be like totally comfortable with that? That answer is yes. Because everything is just really nicely put together. It's nicely laid out. It feels nice. And it's almost like the Nissan name in my mind is kind of bringing this car down more than the actual car itself. And I'm going to get some haters out there for that. But like I said, this is actually really elevating my thoughts of Nissan. Because really the only cars that I liked from Nissan was really the 370Z and the GTR, of course. They're performance vehicles. And the new Titan looks pretty nice too. I never really liked the old one. And the Armada was a little bit too chunky. I like squared off vehicles, but the Armada was just kind of like it was like super boxy, and it looked really heavy, but like not in a good way, if that makes any sense. Because I also like kind of like big tank vehicles like the Suburban, but there was something about that car where it just wasn't really meshing with me. But anyhow, so getting back to summing this up, definitely this car would be nice for really pretty much anyone, actually. It could be for your kids, because they've got enough room to go ahead and cart around some friends, but it's not too big where, you know, it's going to be too unwielding for them. It's loaded with a whole bunch of safety tech, which I think is good for, you know, early drivers. But also for, you know, your significant other, I think this would be great, because you can go ahead and cart around your own kids and get some cargo in the back, maybe do a little weekend vacay, and you've got plenty of room. And you've got all the tech that everyone wants nowadays. You can go ahead and plug in your phone and listen to your music. You've got a backup camera, that's safety. It still has a CD player, by the way, so if you want to go ahead and break out your old, oh god, Evan Sense, or what the hell did people listen to back in like the 90s or something? I don't know what my audience is. You guys are probably listening to like Merle Haggard or something. I'm kidding. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I like the car. It's nice. It's definitely totally blown away my expectations for sure. And also, just one thing, having driven this for like the last week or so, you know, I talked about this when I had the Chevy Cruze as a loaner, I think, where your driving experience is all about what you make it. So even though I kind of started off with like a negative attitude towards this car, I really just did what I wanted to do with it anyways. And really, if the car was going to let me down, then it would, but it didn't. So that probably makes no sense at all, actually, now I'm listening to what I'm saying. But what I'm trying to say is, even if you don't have the money to like buy a really like high performance car, or maybe you want like that really big, flashy like Escalade or something like that, but really you've got the Nissan Rogue budget, don't let that discourage you, because you're getting a nice car even without having to spend like $60,000 or $80,000. You're still getting, you know, fancy little screens. You can plug in your phone. You've got a backup camera. You've got all this like safety tech, which I don't even have in my Corvette, which is kind of disappointing. You've got a nicer gauge cluster than, you know, some Cadillacs like the ATS. That looks like crap. So really, you've got a nicer car than some luxury vehicles. And that's something that, yeah, I think definitely is noteworthy, and really, like, I'm giving Nissan so many props with this car right now because that's how impressed I am with it. But I think I have babbled on enough about this vehicle. So thank you guys so much for sticking around and watching the whole video if you did. If you enjoyed the review, go ahead and give it a big thumbs up. I would really appreciate it. And I don't really do a whole bunch of car review videos, but if you want to go ahead and see some videos on my 2016 Corvette, my 2003 Suburban, and my 1977 Cadillac Eldorado, go ahead and subscribe to the channel One Brain Four Wheels. And thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you guys next time, probably when I'm back at my home in Northern California. So go ahead and take care, and I will see you guys whenever I'm done down here. Also, I did say the styling on this thing was pretty sharp, but I did forget to mention that when I was out shopping, I actually did mistakenly think that my car was actually a Highlander, and I'll go ahead and point a picture here now. So, you know, it's a little bit nice styling, but it still is pretty much generic.